I think you can get us started, Jeff.
Okay, I can go?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here today. The groundbreaking for the SDSU Mission Valley site occurred in early August last year, and the target for completion of the initial Innovation District building is 2 or 3 years from now, with the build out of the other Innovation District buildings to occur over the next 10 years. The university engaged SDSU faculty, staff, and students in many discussions prior to acquiring the land. But as we begin to plan the development of the Innovation District, we need to focus on the ideas that will have the greatest impact for our university and the San Diego region, as well as engaging the public-private partnerships required for funding the build-out of the Innovation District. So to kick off this next step, the Innovation District team is engaging faculty and staff in town halls with each of the College of Sciences being today. And after the town halls, we'll continue to follow up on the most promising ideas as we move forward. The goal today then is to identify potential opportunities for building mutually beneficial partnerships between interdisciplinary areas of academic expertise at SDSU with other public and private organizations that can support the infrastructure costs of the Innovation District. We're joined this afternoon by Interim Vice President for Research and Innovation, Hala Madanat, Associate Vice President Stanley Maloy, and Special Assistant to the President, Joyce Gattas. They'll give us a brief overview of the plans for the Innovation District, then we'll spend the rest of the hour answering questions. Please ask your questions via the Q&A feature, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So thank you, and I will hand it over to our team from our Innovation District team.
Thank you, Dean Robert, and welcome everyone. We appreciate you taking time. We know everyone's super busy. So as Dean Robert said, we are going to make our presentation brief because we really want to answer a question and hear from all of you. So next slide, please, Tony. This is just to contextualize the area for all of you and how far it's come since August. So the site in the middle where the Qualcomm Stadium, you can see this is about a week-old picture. You can see how much it's pretty much all gone. And to the left of that, you can see also how much progress has already been done in building out the actual new stadium that will be there. South of that stadium site is where the land is for the Innovation District. And you can also see pretty clearly where the current transit station is. Next slide, please. So what I was going to run you through is kind of an overview of how the site will look like at the end in case people haven't seen it. So the black square rectangle you see there is at the stadium site, which has 35,000 fan capacity. And it has 2 tailgate spaces to its left for spaces. North of that in the orange is where the hotel space will be. It is expected to be around 400 rooms, 40,000 square feet of conference space that will be available to the Innovation District sites as well for running faculty, running conferences and other events. In purple is the housing. There are 4,600 units that are planned. And these housing units, 10% will be low-income housing with targeted housing for both students, community, faculty, recruitment, and other. In the lower floors, or in the first floor, I guess, of some of these buildings, as well as some of the Innovation District building will be local retail that's meant to serve the community within the Mission Valley space. And then as you can see from the picture, it's pretty much a lot of open space, green areas, intended to have 4 miles of hiking and biking trails to support a very open environment. Next slide. So, and the red area is where you see all the Innovation District buildings. We have 15 pads. The first 2 that will be available are the 2 ones that are east of the stadium. I think they say F1 and E1. If anybody can read them, I can barely tell. It's so small. And then where the arrow is where the trolley area is. So it shows you how close the trolley station will be to our innovation district and the stadium. In terms of space, the innovation district will probably have somewhere around 1.6 million square feet of office and tech space. It's roughly 20 acres. But what's interesting about the buildings is that none of them are intended to be high rises. They're intended to be 3 to 6 story buildings that are, as was mentioned in the introduction, public-public or public-private partnerships. There's dedicated spaces to the innovation district, so somewhere around 5,000 parking spaces and easy trolley access. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, did we lose Johnny? Okay, here we go. So this, I'm turning it over to Stanley a little bit to introduce some of the concepts.
So, you've heard a lot about innovation districts, but when you look at successful innovation districts across the country, what you see is that every innovation district is different. They all have unique properties, but the successful innovation districts all share certain features. They align their distinctive expertise and research strengths with regional needs and opportunities. They include a diverse mix of regional and international public-private and public-public partnerships. They're designed to promote these creative collisions that catalyze new ideas. They're focused on community engagement and economic development of the region. And they have an external advisory board that includes respected civic leaders, business leaders, and entrepreneurs that really help make them a part of the community. Next slide, please, John. When you look at the infrastructure to build out the innovation district, the financing models really built upon these public and public-private partnerships, or P3s, that Hala mentioned. So in one case, a partner may fund a building, pay for the building of that building. In another case, a developer will pay for the building and then lease space out to partners that come into that space. In each of these cases, the idea is that it's a partnership with the university. So the university personnel, faculty, staff, students that will share spaces with these partners as we go forward. Next slide, John. And when you look at these P3s, the concept is to have a set of themes in the innovation district. And each theme is centered around an anchor partner plus the SDSU academic strengths. Those two things really need to go together. The partnerships are built on the regional and international partnerships, as I mentioned to you. And a key aspect of this is that they're interdisciplinary academic collaborations. So they're really meant to drive different disciplines together to approach problems in a different way than we're currently approaching them. Next slide. And the other thing is that the partnerships really have to be mutually beneficial, right? Of course, the partner is not going to become a part of this and pay for things if they don't have a benefit, but the university has to have a benefit too, or why are we bothering with this partnership, right? So one of the key things we hear from our partners is they're really interested in this future workforce that's skilled and represents the diversity of the San Diego region. For us, the partner will provide experiential learning and internships for students and employment of the graduates. The university can provide research expertise and community connections to our partners. In exchange, the partners can provide research collaborations and funding opportunities for our faculty and students. The university can provide special equipment, research resources and services. And the foundation of this whole thing is that the partner provides the infrastructure financing that allows us to build out. Next, please, John. And there are a whole variety of different interdisciplinary opportunities that are possible. We mix and match these up as we go, because until we've built these partnerships, really, it's a matter of figuring out where the best opportunities are. So, for example, if you think about things of relevance to the College of Sciences, it includes concepts like behavioral and cognitive sciences, real key role for opportunities there, big data and analytics, biotech, diagnostics, pharma, clean tech, energy, sustainability, cyber tech, cybersecurity, geotech, genomics and informatics, health innovations, sound, where sound is an example of something that you can see spreading across campus in many ways, and tech transfer and entrepreneurship.
Stanley, I'm going to interrupt you for a second and ask Johnny to reshare his screen. It's looking weird. Thank you.
And while he does that, I'll just say, the key thing here is that the partnerships have to be aligned with the campus goals and values so that they're mutually beneficial and financially sustainable, right? And one example of the kinds of variety of interdisciplinary opportunities, Hala is going to describe right now.
Yeah, so one of the examples is a public health lab that will provide the opportunity for us to build with the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency, as well as the Navy, an opportunity for a public health lab on site that would provide academic training across many of our areas. So public health, nursing, virology, computer science, cybersecurity, all of those provide an opportunity and for the academic piece. But in addition to the academic piece, having a site like that, one of the potential hubs is to have on-site workforce development for the region. So our Navy partners, our county health partners would be able to benefit from our faculty's expertise as methodologies develop. They can learn directly from them on-site. It also provides transdisciplinary research opportunities. So the thing, for example, with the county, if any of you've worked with them, and I know many of you have, especially during this pandemic, is that one of the things that happens is a lot of the red tape for accessing data. And what this would provide is an opportunity for our faculty who collaborate with the county to potentially become designated staff of the county, as a way for them to not have to go through all these processes to get to the data that they need to do the research that they need. And then there's what we are seeing very clearly as this opportunity comes about is the innovation potential. So working with biotechs and diagnostic as one example, but there's a lot of other people who've told us that having the county on site would provide huge interest to them. But including the Navy, wasn't our partner initially, but when they heard the county was going to develop that, that's exactly the type of partnerships they want to have. And so do many of the biotechs and the diagnostics company we're talking to would like to co-locate for an expansion that has real community impact directly and immediately. I want to reemphasize something that Stanley said. When we give this example, that's an example. There's going to be multiple anchors. There are going to be multiple partners. We would be remiss not to have things that are related to many of our colleges. We've talked to several of our colleges deans have been in collaboration with each other to talk about potentially a sound hub that would cross at least 4 of our colleges. There's a lot of different things that could happen. This is the time to explore. This is the time to understand what these opportunities may be. Next slide. So just I want to tell you that as I'm mentioning this, it's truly our first opportunity to directly talk to you about this. I know we've done webinars and so on, but really not had these conversations directly in a while since a year or so ago. And so this is the opportunity to have an initial conversation, but we want to hear from you after this as well. So we've developed on the website of the the Division of Research and Innovation, a link to 2 forms that are easy for you to reach to and give us feedback. One is really just for a question. I have a question about the Innovation District. We'll get, Stanley and I will get the email and we'll respond. The other one is a form where you can provide to us some ideas. who the potential partner is, what you would imagine accomplishing. Do you already work with the partner? How many of faculty? Is it cross colleges? Any information that we can gather to start moving these conversations forwards. So when we get these forms, it's an opportunity for us to internally look at it, reach back out to the faculty, and think about how does that fit into the innovation district in Mission Valley. So as I promised, we were going to make this short. So we're ending the presentation here, and we're going to go to your Q&A, to the Q&A portion. I'm going to pull up the questions right now, and we'll answer them as we go. We'll tag team them with all of us, including Dean Roberts, to answer any of your questions, depending on what they are. So the first one is, have we considered partnering with the Department of Energy? And Stanley, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
Why don't you take it?
Okay, so with the Department of Energy, it's definitely a direction that we are looking into. We've had, it's one that comes up multiple times. We haven't had any direct yet connection to them, but certainly one of the partners that is on our list to connect with and talk to. Remember, we're kind of early in many of these processes. So all of these ideas as part of what feeds into our contacts. Go ahead, Stanley.
So I just add, if you know somebody that you think is the right contact, the person we should really connect with, let us know, and we will make that connection, and so that we can begin to follow up and build on that. But any of those kinds of linkages that you can give us will really help move things forward faster in that arena.
Thanks, Stanley. The next two questions are around the housing, and I'll tackle them together with a preface, which is, it's not within this group's domain to be talking about housing, right? We are in charge of the innovation district, not the housing, but we support the work that's being done by the remainder of the team within BFA and with our consultants. So the first question is, will there be housing options for graduate students? And how much of the housing is targeted for faculty and how much for students? Is there a price advantage to faculty and for student? Will faculty student housing be in a designated area? There will be options for graduate students. That was really part of the president's vision when this housing plan developed, was to really ensure. And actually, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the fact that we're piloting graduate housing on our campus this year. We have 90 that our incoming year in 21-22 as a better understanding of the needs of our graduate students. It's run through, if you have more questions about that, please reach out to Ed Balsden. It's not within my domain again, but I know that they're working hard on making those options as a plan towards Mission Valley housing. I don't know how much is targeted for faculty or students, and I don't know that even if we ask the team right now, they have that formula figured out. It's going to take a little bit of time. Pricing is not set again by us. It is set with our residential consultants, but they are intended to have some incentive, especially as we recruit new faculty. As a mechanism for us to recruit new faculty is to give them some advantage in the housing piece as they come into San Diego.
Can I just jump in there a little bit, Hala? My understanding is that the housing is going to be leased housing, not bought housing. It's important to remember that all Correct. Of this, the land itself belongs to San Diego State University. And that speaks to the importance of the long-range importance of the whole project, Mission Valley project for the university. The university will continue to collect lease revenue forever. And so this is a really important project for the long-term sustainability of the university.
Thank you, Jeff. That's really a good point. The next question is, how many faculty will relocate to the new campus, i.e. office space, lab space, things? Well, that's a great question, and we don't have an answer to that either. So it will depend largely on each of these hubs and the relationship we create with the partners. So the one clear thing I will tell you is no particular college in its entirety will move over there. The intention is to really create spaces that are interdisciplinary, that have the partner, that have our faculty working together. And so just want to emphasize that this will organically flow from the hubs and these anchor partners and the faculty who have the work that's in relation to these partners. Okay, I think you're missing computational data science. Not at all. It's very much part of what we anticipate being there. And without that, a lot of it, even with many of the partners we're talking about, have a big data science to it, certainly. So it's definitely in the plan for Innovation District. Out of curiosity and for sense of scale, how does the square footage of the Innovation District in office space, the 1.6 million, compare to the current campus foundation office space? Do you know the answer, Stanley? I don't. Okay. I can get you that information. Sorry, I have no, I should know it because they just the foundation presented to me about their space recently, but I don't.
It's a great question, Bill.
Yeah, it is. I'm happy to find out though. Can you share any private sponsorship that have already been secured? Actually, none of them have already been secured. The idea, we are still in the early phases with everyone. There are some that I think are more advanced than others, but all of them are still in phases that they haven't told their boards. And so we're not at a place to really share anything. Some people who may have direct relationship may already know that we're in communication, but it's very early for some of them. But we're moving it forward with deans where they may be impact to the college and the faculty, and doing some smaller group meetings in relation to the research that's being done by a group that links to the potential area of research and interest of the partner. Want to add anything else there? We're good? No? Okay. In order to be part of this Innovation District in Mission, does a professor's research have to be interdisciplinary in nature? That's fundamentally part of an innovation district to really solve the problems of I don't want to call them of the future, but the big societal issues, and often those require interdisciplinary in nature. That doesn't mean that if somebody has a niche area that can fit within a partner and that can build on others, it could not happen. And actually, that's one of the things we've been working on. When people reach out to us and say, I do this, and this is the type of partner I have, we start thinking, okay, who else could be part of it, so that we have these bigger hubs around a particular topic.
If I could add to that,
Sure.
one of the ideas here is for whenever we build a partnership, it will provide opportunities for multiple groups of faculty and students on campus. So it won't be for example, one company, one individual faculty member relationship, because then it doesn't benefit the university as much.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the question is in the next one, but I'll read it out. Build out power and network infrastructure to support sensors, systems, at identified locations between existing to new campus, San Diego River, weather, air quality monitoring, river foundation. If those are meant to be areas, those are all certainly areas that are being discussed. So I'm not sure if that was intended to be something else that I'm missing in there.
If I could just add to that, though, there's been a lot of discussion about the river and the fact that the river, because of its adjacency to that site, it provides a real great living learning lab for people to study aspects of the river. And so that the whole set of sensor networks and interactions with the river that already exist with SDSU faculty and students will be expanded on at that site.
Okay. how will financially sustainable be defined? I can imagine how a for-profit partner would be able to put together a business plan. I'm wondering if how nonprofit organization might also be able to partner with SDSU researcher. Fantastic. So that's part of another area that we're looking at around incubator spaces that may be both considered within the space of a startup, but also in the areas of non-profit organization, either way. And the way we're imagining some of this occurring, again, we're looking at other models. We're talking is it could be potentially either supported by a partner, it could be space that is, there's multiple models, ones that are equity based, there are ones that are lease based, there's so many models. So it will depend over time how we build out those incubator type spaces for startups and nonprofit organizations, both of them, because we do want them to be in those spaces within the context of what we're trying to achieve at SDSU.
Can I just add to that,
Mm-hmm.
Hala? It's important to remember that the innovation district will need to pay for itself and more. And so strategically coming up with ways to invite and encourage the participation of those groups really important, but the revenue streams are candidly important as well. I do want to point out that the County Public Health Department is not a for-profit organization, and that's a very exciting potential partnership. Hala, I know one of the first questions that I asked you when I heard about that is this a prestige group that we're proposing to interact with? And the answer that you gave me was very compelling that way, that it's a nationally recognized prestige public health organization. And so this is just the kind of organization that as an institution, we need to partner with. It isn't just a function of the fact that we're in San Diego, they're in San Diego. This is a great organization for us to build a partnership with.
Can I also add one thing? Just if you have nonprofit organizations that you think would benefit in that Mission Valley space, this is the time to let us know. Because again, if we're looking at how we get support for those, it'd be really good to let us know the ones that you think are of interest and would be of value in Mission Valley.
Certainly, and we're meeting with one tomorrow, I think, or next week. I mean, that was connected with us. So certainly something that we're looking into.
Before you go on, let me just follow up on what Jeff said, because I think that a simple phrase says a lot. So it ends up that the infrastructure on the West Coast of the US for doing community health is really pretty lousy. And so the discussion here is to build this new public health infrastructure so it will be the quote CDC of the West, serving the entire West Coast of the United States. So that alone, when you think of CDC of the West, is a very prestigious kind of concept.
Thank you. Will there be housing for staff? Absolutely, it's part of the all discussion as well to have staff housing. One like energy would be EPA with the huge work on the border with stormwater and sewage, very much something that would be also transporter and public health focus. Doug Liddon and Juan Vargas are obvious major linkages. Thank you. We've connected with actually Juan on this, and we're working very closely on that piece, certainly. But yes, it's absolutely one of the areas where there's very much potential to do some work. And thank you for the other suggestion as well. Have you had initial conversation with industry leaders in local biotech farm to gauge their interests? There are many big companies here, including Pfizer, Illumina, and Hologic. Any preliminary read of their leadership and excitement about the district? Huge, actually. So we are talking to many of them. There's very much interest in their leadership about the district for a variety of the reasons. But I'll give you a few compelling reasons that we hear. One is the diversity of our student population, which is something that they want to work towards, is the diversifying of their workforce. The work that our faculty do that overlaps with their work. Our location, I mean, we keep hearing how much, not only is there no more space up where a lot of these places are, but also they're not centrally located. And many of them realized how much more of their work needs to reach the right populations. And so being more centrally located is important to them. And they see as SDSU bringing all of that together in that Mission Valley. It's the innovation with the faculty, is the access to a workforce that's diverse, it's access to the community that with whom we work, and the location by which we're in that really is very attractive. So absolutely, we keep getting connected to new ones all the time because of the excitement that people are having around that. Any idea how much we could leverage resources that exist on campus, such as the microscope or NMR facilities? How self-contained should the innovation district be? I'm having a hard time kind of thinking about what's being meant by the question self-contained. Do you want to answer it?
Yeah, so for example, a lot of things, let's say a biotech company that came in down there, they would probably have their own mass specs, but not everyone would have their own electron microscope, right? So access to that kind of facility at the university provides a great opportunity to provide resources to the university as well as collaborative opportunities. So I think that the answer, Andy, is that some things will be duplicative simply because a company might need them really intensively. Those things that are on the university that wouldn't exist down there would build a shared structure. And likewise, in our partnerships with the companies, if they bring in new equipment, we would want to have a model where our faculty and students would have some access to those new facilities.
Thank you. Doug, thank you for your question, actually, because that's really something I wanted to address. So what are the protocols and guidelines for who, when, and how prospective partners are approached for participation in the SDSU Innovation District? So that's really important. So I would say if you have any idea, please reach out to Stanley and myself, do the form or schedule a meeting. Any of those are options. Now, things are starting to evolve and we want to make sure we get your ideas as soon as possible. We prefer to be involved in all conversations with the partners typically because a lot of the times we're reaching to the same one that our faculty are reaching out. And by the time we get to them, they're like, well, your faculty. And it makes us look like we're uncoordinated. And I'll tell you that we're really coordinating on the university level, even with the namings for the athletics piece, because we don't want to look like we're not talking to each other. So the big thing would be, please reach out to any of us with your ideas. The sooner the better, and we will work with you on figuring out the timeline with approaching the partner, who is in the meeting, and all of that. Experimentalists need devices. Are there any ideas for a microfabrication facility? I really think I want people to step back from, like, if possible, from like a specific idea to thinking broadly about what would that bring with it. That's what we're looking for. What would that hub do? Right? All of those things, because all those pieces is what really helps us make sure that we have an innovative innovation district, right? We have one that really reaches its goal for innovation. So if we can think out of the facility could be there, but what other groups would be there potentially is really the question we're asking. Can the Innovation District support professional education programs, perhaps a medical school? I don't think we're going down the medical school route, but professional education programs, yes, and there's reasons to think about how that works in conjunction with our global campus as well, as we do workforce development opportunities on the site for the partners potentially to actually degree programs that are on our campus or certificates. There's a lot of ways by which we can think about the professional education piece. One big concern is the potential corruption of science and research with private interests. For instance, SIO has taken money from fossil fuel company for years and has directly argued in Congress against climate mitigation. There are many other examples of private concerns funding questionable research, tobacco industry, prison, border patrol, big pharma, big surveillance, weapons system. How will this innovation make sure that we are doing ethical science? Because you're doing the science. So we're building an innovation district for our faculty. And so if the partner or the industry partner is not one that our faculty want to work with, it will not come to an innovation district. That's just the way it is. So at the end of the day, the ethics of it depends on the ethics of our faculty, which I think are pretty high. Will there be any classroom space or classes taught at this location? Some. It's not going to be traditional classrooms, but we're thinking, an example I can give you, and we haven't thought through the details, so bear with me as I give you the example, that it's just an example. But for example, with the county lab, there may be opportunities for some of these labs to be training labs as well. So depending on the day, depending on their availability, depending on the instrumentation, we might be able to do something with that. To ensure that we have those spaces. There's others in the incubator world. We also will have these open spaces for students to be able to innovate with each other. There'll be some types of classroom, but it's really, again, dependent on that particular hub that we're hoping to have, or theme and anchor partner, and the faculty that are there and what we hope. Have you approached MTS to provide free bus service between the campuses? It's not going to be bus, it's going to be the trolley. And the campus, BFA is responsible for that piece to make sure that they're working out the deal on the passes. And I see that I missed a question, sorry. Is there a long-term plan for growth of this very exciting facility? It seems like all the existing land is being used. I'm not sure what land we're talking. How is the?
Right. So the question is, after the 15 buildings were built out, wouldn't it be nice to do the next 5 buildings?
Yeah, I really, okay, I'm 6 months into the job. I have a 10-year plan right now for this innovation district. I don't know what the answer to that is. I think it's such a long-term question right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Again, though, even without additional growth, these buildings will be occupied on a lease basis. And so there will be natural evolution and growth and change in direction as people's needs for the space change.
The next one is, any lessons learned, positive or negative, from the Bioscience Center and the EIS building that will be applied to these hubs? And I don't know if either Stanley and Jeff would like to answer that one.
You want to start, Stanley?
Well, so the original, a lot of the original concept behind the Bioscience building was that we would have soft-funded researchers. And soft funding in research right now is a really pretty tenuous subject. And so the idea here is not to build a soft funded facility, to build a partnership here. The EIS building is still a baby at this stage, I think. But one of the key things there was to bring together different people and promote a lot of these kinds of collisions and interdisciplinary interactions. And in a number of cases, that's worked very successfully so far. We have a long ways to go, but I think the EIS building is a really nice example of how something like this can be done.
But this is also an example of how the university can grow its infrastructure and de-risk at the same time. Again, other entities are responsible for the construction, and putting the buildings up, not us. And then at some point, we will happily collect rent for those lands. So. And that is not the case with the EIS building. It's not the case with the Bioscience Center.
Thank you both. What is the process for choosing the P partnerships? How do they get initiated? What role do faculty and you as leaders in the program and corporations or government have in initiating the ideas? We're really trying to have the ideas be faculty driven, because it really is about what you want to do in the innovation district. It's about your partnership. It's about the future of SDSU relies on the faculty wanting to be engaged in those partnerships. I will reiterate what I said earlier, which is if you have an idea, let us know. We connect with the partner. If you have a particular person in mind, that's fantastic. Our team meets with them. I want to reemphasize that there's other groups besides who you're seeing here. So first, the president has an external advisory board for the Innovation District that also shares ideas, and these are people that are highly regarded in their fields, many of whom have some connection to SDSU, but not all of them. So they're bigger pictures than SDSU only. They can really think outside the box. And we are building our internal advisory board currently. We're getting recommendations through the deans and others to create an internal advisory board that will have representation from all the colleges. And so those ideas also will come to those groups. And then we'll continue to do things like this, where there are opportunity to ask questions, to give the example, to seek feedback. We do small group meetings with faculty whose research matches so that we get their input. We bring groups together from across campus that may not even have worked together, but may seem a fit to that particular idea. And that's how it starts. And then it keeps evolving. Some of them, after 2 or 3 meetings, we realize it's not a good fit, or it continues to go and will continue to go until we eventually get to a point where everybody thinks it's a good idea and there's the funding for it from the partner and we can do it. Can partnerships also include groups like UCSD? Yes, such as for 5G and fiber optics. So we don't want a UCSD building sitting on our campus, certainly, but that doesn't mean that our faculty, all of our faculty across, I mean, not all of them, but faculty across all colleges already work with UCSD, right? It's not a new thing. So those partnerships will have to emerge and will have to continue to grow as part of our relationship, whether it's our JDP programs, whether it's our research enterprise. Those things will continue to occur, absolutely. But we don't imagine them funding a building on our campus, if that's the question. Are the Big Ideas team going to be incorporated within the innovation section? I'll turn it to Joyce on the Big Ideas.
That's a very good question, and thank you for asking it. One of the things the Big Ideas research teams were asked to do is to tell us the impact it would have on Mission Valley and where it would fit in the innovation district. So we're getting that feedback from those groups, and there's really some great possibilities that are coming out of those research teams for innovation. So if you're not involved in those, I'd have you to look at those the virtual video showcases we're doing on those research projects. They really give you an idea of the breadth and depth. So they're going to be very much part of the discussions because they are collaborative, they are interdisciplinary, they are talking about the impact that the strengths of the research of our faculty and how we can solve the big issues of the day. So those projects are going to have some real strength in these discussions.
Thank you. I lost my location. Here we go. Because UCSD Hillcrest is doing such a huge renovation, would partnering with them to be a triage site for regional disaster be possible? They are on the mesa above the stadium, so terrific collaboration possible. We haven't gone there, but that's not an impossible concept, certainly. So we would have to work with the stadium folks, again, not in the innovation district space, but something that we can take back to the team to consider. The Regional Water Quality Control Board is located very close by. Is there a possibility for? Absolutely. And if you have a certain person you want us to connect with, send them our way. So similar to the one before, slightly different, but similar. Is there planning for using the stadium as an evacuation center to be utilized during an emergency like wildfires, group like Red Cross, but also National Guard and FEMA would be interested? I will take the question back to Gina and the team to see how they feel and what they think. What, if any, opportunities will there be for small businesses to partner and benefit in ID? We tried to address that earlier, but I'll reiterate to say that we're hoping to have spaces for smaller businesses. We really do want to have that but it is a model that we have to address. As Dean Roberts was very clear, you really want to make sure, right? You want to make sure that you're covering your costs and beyond. And so sometimes when you're partnering with smaller businesses, it makes it a little more difficult and not impossible, but these are the nuances of these types of partnership and financial modeling that we need to look at. I don't know, do you feel like you answered the next one, Joyce? How will the SDSU Big Ideas impact the usage of the Mission Valley? Okay. What about core facilities for shared use and what about core facilities for shared use be supported maybe or and support?
I think Stanley addressed that, didn't he?
Sure.
Yeah. It depends on our partners and the facilities that they need to bring. But as Vice President Madanat articulated, we will negotiate to make sure our faculty get access to sophisticated capabilities that they bring to the Innovation District, and we will heavily promote our own infrastructure for their use with a fee, of course.
Will there be go over with the development? A crossover, I assume, is the question. So will there be a crossover with the development of an innovation district in Imperial Valley? Yes. So as you may all have heard already that there is a plan for an innovation district in Imperial Valley. It's going to take a little more time there because as we tried to discuss earlier, is that with innovation districts, you really have to have the students and the faculty to really partner with these partners. And so the academic programming right now in Imperial Valley is conducive to something maybe similar to something public health related, nursing related, but it's not conducive to a lot of the energy, to a lot of the basic science. And so we're trying to build the academic programming first so that they have students there that then we can do those partnerships. So they're on a delayed timeline from our innovation district, but we will eventually have to do some, as we build ours, to consider what other things make sense in the innovation district in Imperial. How is the space in Innovation District being customized for the chosen partners? Who bears the expense for specialty lab buildouts? They do. Everything's partner paid for. That's the idea, right? And so, and how do they customize? We have several consultants that are helping us think through the buildings, ensuring the maximization of utilization of these buildings. But it is really partner paid for, all of it. We should have classroom available to teach industry employees like certificates after hours. I agree, and that's something that depending on the right partner and the right building, we can certainly do. Can the new stadium be used for an all-university commencement? I think there's been, I heard that conversation once, but I'm not sure where it's at, but it's certainly something that's being considered. Those are all the questions. We have a couple more minutes. Oh, go ahead.
So I might add that people are working on a bike trail that will go from Mission Valley to campus that is different than the riskiness of driving on city streets right now. I'm not sure exactly when that will come through, but that's a real heavy emphasis. And it was one of the things that SDSU said that they would do when they made their agreement with the city. So that is definitely planned.
Yes. I have a follow-up question to one of the first answer to one of the first questions that Professor Zahner asked. According to the BFA website, facilities management is responsible for the maintenance and development of San Diego State University facilities, which include over 3.2 million square feet of space. Okay. So if you compare that to the number of square feet that are going to be developed in the Innovation District, it's very substantial.
Correct.
I also just want to emphasize to all of you who are here, we really want this to be an instrument to elevate the prestige of our institution. And again, I think I explained why I was so excited about the public health opportunity, because of the prestige of that organization. So we're really looking for partnerships that are special. We have talked about the importance of paying the bills, and that is fundamental and foundational, but just as important is we want the kind of partnerships that bring this university, our university, more prestige, more respect, and more impact internationally, nationally, and especially in the San Diego area. So we need your creativity, we need your ideas, and we need your relationships with key folks at such organizations that we can broker to build the kind of innovation district that we really need at this university. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And we have one last question that came in, and I want to address it because it's important. As I reach out to an industry contact to see if they want a connection, what time frame do I suggest for when buildings might be available? The earliest buildings will start being built at the end of 22, beginning of 23. But I know that it's hard to believe, but it takes that long to have agreements in place anyway. So we're on a timeline where we should be starting to really think about it. And then after that, they roll out as needed into the pads as the partners come in and the right partners come in. But thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for being
my
here.
team believes in giving people a break in between their meetings. So we are ending a few minutes early, but you know how to reach us. And thank you for spending this hour with us and for your time and your questions.
And please send your comments and ideas